be happy with communism.
A lot of those people have come here and become very successful. I mean, some of them extremely successful.
Yes. And you know why? Because there's a free economy. There's a free market.
Because they understood and they could grasp the concept of busting your ass to get ahead.
You work hard and dream big, and nothing's handed to you. Nothing in this world's fucking given to you.
Well, there's a reason why they say that you can do anything. You can come to America and do anything you want. I mean, there's nobody. The only thing that puts limits on what you can do here is yourself, and that's a place that's going to thrive. We're going to start kind of chaining people down with socialist ideas. This country's going to falter. I mean, it just, in my mind, it cannot work. There's no plausible set of circumstances that it can work.
No, and let me interject something else. Democrat or Republican, whatever party that you fall under, listen to this for just a second. If you are not happy with where you are, you can change it. If you rent a house and are barely getting by and don't have any money at the end of the month, do you know why that is? It's because you are content with it. If you were not content with that, it wouldn't be that way. I have buddies of mine who were not content in doing what they were doing, and guess what? They got a second job. They started sacking away money. They sacked away enough money to where they could open up a business that they've been dreaming about, and now they're 10 times better than what they were before then. The only thing that's in your way, the only hurdle that's in your way is you.
That's just it. If you're not happy where you are right now, if you're extremely unhappy in your circumstances, there's one person that is to blame for this, and that is yourself.
Yep.
Because we all have the power to change it. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy. That doesn't mean you don't have to sacrifice. I mean, people that change their situations drastically, they don't sleep. They don't, they live very frugal. They have tough times because it's all about the end game. And if you don't like where you're at, get up and look yourself in the mirror in the morning. Blame that person looking back at you because you have the power to change it.
Guarantee it. There's a lot of people in this world who blame other people for where they're at. I live on this side of the tracks because back in the day when the white man blah blah blah. No, you live on that side of the tracks because that's where you want to live.
Well, you hear stories. I hear stories about guys that come out of prison. Guys that are felons, and there's a lot of people that they meet some tough times. They can't get a job right away. They can't find a place to live right away. They start doing stupid shit. They remain in the system. Then you hear stories about guys that put their nose to the grindstone, and 5 years after being out of the joint, they've got a pretty nice life they've set up for themselves because they did it with hard work and determination.
And you know what else? They probably used a prison economy as their economy. In other words, they learned a hustle or a trade. They learned something in prison that got them kick-started. There are so many different hustles. And when I talk about hustles, I'm not sitting there talking about experience because Ben did a dime and such or whatever. Half of this shit I don't know what I'm talking about. Part of it I do. But you find a hustle. Everybody has to find a hustle to get by. You can't exchange money in prison, but yet there's certain things that you need. Like you need a haircut every once in a while.
And those guys find a way to make that happen.
Exactly.
They do a lot of bartering,
Yeah, I mean, there's no money that's exchanged per se, but I can give you, 3 packages of ramen noodles, get a haircut.
Yeah. Well, and those principles can follow people out in the free world because, I fully believe in using money to get stuff, but there's times people come to me and maybe they don't have the money to do this or do that, but they want me to shoot pictures for them for their business, or something like that. So we'll trade something out. Like I know somebody owns a tattoo shop and, wants pictures done to help in the advertising campaign for that shop. Don't have a lot of money to throw at advertising, but they can make me a deal for some time in a tattoo chair, and I'm more than willing to give my services for their services.
You bet. That's what the country used to be about.
Yeah. I mean,
and I guarantee you, because another civil war is coming. Mark my fucking word. But when that civil war happens, currency is going to become worthless.
Oh, yeah.
It will.
Yeah, you better learn to survive.
So you better get your fucking barter game on quick.
In a hurry. Because I'm like you, man. I've totally bought into my dad's theory, Sarge. Sarge is onto something when he talks about this Civil War. I used to think he was batshit crazy, but anymore, man, the way things go day in and day out, something bad's brewing in this country. And it's like you said, you better have your ducks in a row and know how you're going to survive, because bartering is going to be one of your go-to methods of getting by if this shit cracks off.
Yeah. First of all, you're going to need a trade or need something that's valuable to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's say you're a furniture maker. Okay, let's talk about the Amish community, because this is the Amish community perfectly
Through and
written.
through.
Right. You got one guy whose family are furniture makers. That's all they've been for the last 4 or 5 generations, or however long it's been set down roots. You have another guy who builds barns. You have another guy who's a cattle farmer. You have another group of people that do nothing with their land but just hay it. Well, those cows have got to eat. You got people who grow certain vegetables. Yeah, you got a dairy family. You have everything in that community that you need, so that you can barter back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
So that everybody is taken care of. Now, is that a communistic thing? Probably at its roots.
By definition,
yes.
Yeah.
Probably at its roots, but it's communistic because nobody is any better than anybody else, and there's no money exchange. In other words, you're put on this earth to make furniture, and I can't eat furniture. So I'm put on this earth to build furniture to trade for apples and beef and pork.
But see, you just took a very important component out of it, money. You take money out of that equation, and you're able to do this and do it successfully. Put money into this and start putting a monetary value on things. That's what starts fucking it all up.
Yes. Yeah, because
that's why they're so successful at it.
Even Amish have their own insurance company. You don't think so?
I didn't know that.
I guarantee. Everybody pays into that. That's something
like a co-op. So it's like a co-op deal.
It's like a co-op. If one of your people gets hurt, you go to the emergency room and you. I'm not saying they don't make money, dude. They not only build barns for themselves, but they build barns for other people and make good money at it. Mm-hmm. They not only build furniture for themselves.
There's a place in town here you can buy unfinished Amish furniture. Don't quote me on this. I want to say Sutherland's has a store that you can buy all that stuff.
Probably so.
But I know there's a store in town that you can buy all the unfinished Amish furniture you want, and the craftsmanship is off the chain. I mean,
but the money they do make is pool. It's not.
So they pull. So that is a very socialistic, demographic of our society.
It is, but because it's not driven by money.
Yeah, that's not the focus like it is in capitalism.
Exactly. I think it takes. You'll never find a billionaire Amish person ever.
No.
And the richest Amish person lives next door to the next richest Amish person who lives next door to the next richest.
Mm-hmm.
They're, but they whatever bills they do have, they get paid. They're smart. They go by sunrise to sunset. They don't have to have a clock. They don't have to have a phone. Now, some of them do have cell phones now. Well,
do they?
Oh yeah, you got to take care of business when you're building barns.
But when there's all their woodworking stuff, all that stuff, they're still doing that without power tools, aren't they?
Oh no. They use lots and lots and lots of power tools.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Which are more primitive? Is it the Mennonites or the Amish that are more primitive?
Amish are more primitive
than the Mennonites are.
Yeah, you're not going to find a true Amish furniture maker that makes Amish furniture.
I know. We used to go dove hunting on some Mennonites property, and dude, I know you've probably been dove hunting. When you go dove hunting, you carry your body weight in shotgun shit, and those Mennonites don't, dude. They take those boys out there. They give them each a set number of shells in their hand. They can hold them in one hand. And every time they pull the trigger, they better knock a dove out of the sky. Because if they don't, it gets real ugly real fucking fast. And I'm like, man, these people, that's how dependent they are and how much they don't waste.
Well, and to maximize, they maximize their role in society and resources by doing that. If I can kill 2 birds with one stone, that's way better than throwing 3 or 4 stones and not killing a bird.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, and I'm not saying that they do 2-for-1 shots, but they teach them kids to shoot and shoot well, because that's dinner. You know, that's not recreational. That's not, let me go clear my head. That's, if we don't get this, we're not going to eat tonight.
Mm-hmm. And I can remember family members of mine, we got to the point they felt sorry for those boys because they were getting in so much trouble for not knocking birds out of the sky. And we got to the point that we were just handing shotgun shells out to them because we felt sorry for them. And you talk about something that make you feel like kind of an asshole, seeing that go down when you got so many pockets full of shotgun shells you can barely walk around. That make you feel like you got a little bit of entitlement going.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And, that was a good lesson for me to learn when I was young.
And so coming back around, you know, whatever you want to call it, socialism argument, you know, here again, there are certain aspects of socialism, like Amish, that do work, but you have to be void of so many other things for that to work. You can't do it in modern society.
Well, I feel like that culture, they've done it for so long. Nobody's really trying to get ahead, you know? I mean, they all kind of like the status quo, and they like being in that status quo, and that's probably all they've ever known. But how you could take our society as a whole, where we've, for generation after generation after generation, have all been taught to bust our ass to get ahead. How do you now say, okay, nobody's going to get ahead anymore. Everybody's going to be equal, no matter how hard you work. That's just a line of thinking I don't think that the country as a whole will ever adopt.
No.
I think that was one of the most poignant things that Trump said in the State of the Union address. America will never be a socialist country. And I hope that is a statement that rings true for the rest of my lifetime, at least.
I do too. You know, for everybody who thinks socialism is going to work, man, all you got to do, if you want that part of utopia that you talk about, you know, there are communities across America that are kind of similar to Amish. In other words, when you get there, you check your vehicle in and you don't use it anymore. There's a community phone. You have to provide X to the community on the community grounds, or you're disbanded. You know, you've got to work hard to give back to the community that pulled you, that accepted you in. So, you know, there are places out there. If you want to try to live a communist lifestyle, go right ahead. Right ahead.
I mean, if it works so well, how come the hippie communes didn't thrive anymore?
Well, and how come Russia didn't survive?
Yeah, well, that's even a better point. Jeez. That they were a superpower. That was one of the countries that, you know, along with the United States, were calling all the shots, and they crumbled. I mean, just to dust.
Well, yeah, but you know why they crumbled? Because 2/3 of their economy, 2/3 of their own economy in that part of the world had basically people who had nothing working with it. You know, if you're talking about agriculture and all that mess, you know, these people didn't make any money whatsoever. They just got what the government gave them. And at the point where the people get sick and tired of it, oh man, yeah. Now, what are you going to do, Mr. White Collar Worker? Go out and milk cows? I don't think so.
Well, I talked to somebody recently that works with somebody that's originally from Venezuela, and this person from Venezuela talked about how, like, you get there's a day every month or whatever you go to get your grant, and you show up and you wait in line for 8 or 10 hours. And when you get to the head of the line, there may not be any milk left. There may not be any bread. You may walk out of there after 8 or 10 hours with a bunch of rotten oranges. And that's your food allotment. Like, that doesn't sound real fun to me.
No, not at all. And it's also probably your fault, because had you gotten in line earlier and waited longer, you probably would have got better food. But
yeah, I mean, that just doesn't sound like a chance I want to take. I think us as Americans are pretty pompous, and we like to think we can do it better than other people have. But that's an economic system that has been proven time and time again that doesn't.
Well, you know, what we think and what we feel is not everybody's views, and I get that. You know, like I said earlier, we're kind of middle of the road, but here lately, because of everything that's happening so fucking polarizing, we've turned into the Hannity brothers.
We kind of have.
Yeah. I mean, I got to stop this for a second. We're recording this, and Donnie has our audio bit coming across the screen, and it's funny because when Shiner laughs,